What's good, everyone? It's your main man Sam here, coming to you from the High Garden, and we are now into the middle of July, and we are only about 50 days away from the NFL opener. So, allow me to serve as your fantasy alarm clock. It's time to wake up. There's been lots of moving and shaking across the league with through free agency and the NFL draft. So I'm going to catch you up, looking at each team individually, looking at players out, players in, fantasy implications, things like that. We're going to start with your favorite team and mine, the Washington Commanders. So, starting at the quarterback position, the obvious thing is all revolves around Jayden Daniels. It was a magical rookie season he had, the Rookie of the Year campaign, and leading the Commanders to the NFL championship, to the NFC championship, where they lost to the Eagles. Excuse me. Then last year, Jayden struggled with injuries throughout the year, and offense never was quite the same. They missed out on the playoffs. It was kind of a lost season. So I fully expect Jayden Daniels to get back to those heights where he was, one of the, not a highly drafted quarterback his rookie year, but was a fantasy difference maker. And we have a new offensive coordinator and some new pieces around him. So I want to look at, assuming the offense can return and Jayden can return to his 2024 levels, what does that mean for some of the new and old playmakers on this team? So let's start with the offensive coordinator. David Blough will lead the offense as a first-time offensive coordinator and play caller. But he spent the last 2 years working under Cliff Kingsbury and working with Jayden Daniels. Previously, he was a player for the Lions. The Lions wanted to interview Blough about their open offensive coordinator job, and Washington instead just signed him up, offered him the same job here. So I like that forward-looking approach there to keep Blough around. So Ben Johnson in particular has praised Blough's coaching potential, worked with him. Blough's last year with the Lions, was on the practice squad. He was kind of an honorary coach at that point. And so we can assume his offense may be influenced by Ben Johnson and have that kind of offense. Also, obviously, he's been working under Cliff Kingsbury the last 2 years, so there'll probably be elements of that also. So, looking at this offense, we can kind of think about the Lions or the Bears systems of Ben Johnson teams and kind of the roles also. It will incorporate those elements, but he also, knows how to use Jayden's strengths. Has had a assumedly close relationship as he's been the quarterback coach for Jayden's first 2 years in the league. And I believe Jayden Daniels has only spoken glowingly of him, and they've been working on the playbook together already. So, if we're thinking about the players that fit the types of roles in the offense from 2024, first of all, looking at the running back position, we have rookie fan favorite Jacory/Bill Krosky-Merritt returning. You also have a late day 3 draft pick in Penn State's Katron Allen. And then my favorite back, also have Jerry McNichols returning. But my favorite member of this, it's going to be a committee, but I like Rachaad White here. He signs only a $2 million year deal. Previously played with Jayden Daniels, of course, at Arizona State. So there's a relationship there, connection there already. One of the reasons why Rachaad White came over here to play with Jayden. He's caught 50 balls in 3 separate seasons. Even though typically rushing quarterbacks don't use the running backs as receivers a lot. Washington did show in Jayden Daniels' rookie year and last year that they would feed running backs the ball through the air. Austin Eckler, as an example, who had several big games towards the end of 2024 after coming back from injury and started the year solidly before going down, sadly, I believe in week 2 of last year. So I could see Rachaad White, who's very fast, good pass blocker, good receiver, has been knocked in the past for, not being having a good feel for the actual rushing part of the job, seeing rushing lanes and things like that. But I've always liked Rachaad White, so I could see him having a Austin Eckler plus type role, which could be very fantasy relevant if he stays healthy, which Austin Eckler sadly could not do. Had some boom weeks in that offense in 2024, but couldn't stay on the field. So I like Rachaad White. He's starting to creep up a little bit, but I've been grabbing him in a couple best ball drafts recently around rounds 9 to 12. Those are, some of those are 14 and 16 team leagues too. So you can still get them pretty cheap. Krosky Merritt still going before him. I see him and Katron Allen really. Bill and Katron kind of battling for that early down work. Katron's not a bad best ball pick because he could take over down the stretch. It could be an injury or two, and he could be relevant towards the end of the season. So JCM, probably the Commanders back I least want for the price. Love Bill, but I could see Rachaad White being a value here. Another new addition to the team, I want to talk about Chig Okonkwo, who's a tight end, free agent signing. Previously played for Tennessee Titans, University of Maryland product, so it's a bit of a homecoming story. He's 6'3", 230, ran a 4.52 coming out. So with Zach Ertz departing, you could see Okonkwo taking a lot of those kind of check down, safety valve type targets from Daniels that Ertz got in the past. He's probably not the zone beater that Ertz is, doesn't have that savvy, but you could see them using him as a big slot, especially when you get to the receivers, but there's not a natural fit for a number 2 receiver there right now. So Okonkwo could be the number 2 target in the offense, to be honest. Could kind of, dare you say, if you want to compare it to a Ben Johnson offense, kind of a Laporta, Colston Loveland type role for Okonkwo. Could we see Blough, kind of follow this new trend of heavy sets with 2 and 3 tight ends at the same time? Could that lead to Ben Sinnott get on the field too? You're probably not going to have 2 relevant tight ends. But Okonkwo, another guy, could be a value, could give you decent production from the tight end position if you don't go tight end early. So something to look for there. And wide receivers, really first you got to start with Terry McLaurin, had a career high season, career year. Jayden Daniels rookie year in 2024, caught 13 touchdowns. Looked primed for another big year next year, sat out at a contract dispute and then an injury. So not a good year for him or Daniels. But, now you're seeing him drop a little bit, into rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, where last year he's going, up to the 3rd round, I believe. So as long as he's healthy, you think McLaurin's going to have a bounce back year too. And it's especially interesting to see how David Blough will use him in the offense, where he's typically lined up on the outside for the most part. But the new offensive coordinator's already talked about getting him 10-plus targets a game, which if you give Terry McLaurin, get him moving in motion, get him some slants or curls, get him more check down targets, and he could have a whole another level of ceiling. Could even be like a Amon-Ra St. Brown light in this offense, dare you say. So what if you had that role? What if you got more target volume and still had some deep targets and that usage as well. So like McLaurin, you can even potentially do a McLaurin Jayden Daniels stack using those 2 picks between rounds 4 and 7 or something like that. Might not be a bad idea. I haven't been able to pull that off yet. But for the other receivers, quickly you got Antonio Williams, who's a Matt Harmon reception perception favorite, explosive on the small side, a 3rd round pick. Good route runner, has been generating some buzz in rookie camp and OTAs. So he could have he could have big games, catch touchdowns here and there. I don't know if he's gonna be a consistent target earner or consistent starter in a fantasy lineup this year as a rookie, but we will see. One other receiver, a prodigal son returning, Diami Brown. When he was last in burgundy and gold, he had a couple of his best games since entering the league as a draft pick of the Redskins. Caught 5 of 5 for 89 yards and a touchdown against Tampa in the playoffs, and then 6 for 8 for 98 over the Lions. Then got a nice deal to go to Jacksonville, was hurt most of last year, released, and now he's back. So he's got that connection with Jayden Daniels that was starting to develop on that playoff run before Diami left. So, maybe he'll have maybe he could be that wide receiver too, or maybe he'll get more of the percentage of targets. He'll get a larger share of the offense than we expect. It's possible. Could be a value there too. So that's my breakdown of the Washington Football Club's fantasy outlook of their offense heading into the 2026 season. As long as you have a healthy Jayden Daniels, I'm excited about David Blough and the new offense, and I'm excited to see how they use some of these skill position players. One bonus point here is a departed skin Chris Rodriguez after a strong season, left in free agency, got a decent deal, more money than Rashad White, to go to Jacksonville Jaguars, where he'll be coached by Liam Cohen, who is his coach in his breakout college season at Kentucky. Bashaw Tutin was a rookie last year. He's generating a lot of hype, but Chris Rodriguez, knows the offense, knows the coach, knows the system. He could have a larger role. Tutin could still be good, and there's still a Travis Achan size hole in that offense. TE was a value last year. I think I got him in our Dad League auction draft for $15. No one wanted him last year, and he ended up a borderline RB1 and a league winner for a lot of people. Boring pick. Bayshall still sniped him in the red zone even last year. And if the Jaguars' offense is good, there'll be fantasy points for more than one running back in that offense. So he's dealing with an injury right now, I believe, a foot injury. But keep an eye on Chris Rodriguez in that Jacksonville backfield as well. All right, so thank you all for joining in. Let me know what team you want me to do next. I'm gonna obviously I don't have to be this in depth because this is my team, but we could do some previews for. I'd like to go through do all the teams. See if we could do that in the 50 days before the season starts. So thanks. Be sure to give me a follow and a like if you enjoyed watching me today. If this provided you any value, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Peace.